This is the demonstration video for the International Light Technology ILT-350 underwater housing. This housing was developed by us for this particular light spectrometer. And we make a variety of different housings for different light spectrometers and light meters. This one in particular is for this ILT-350. We will demonstrate how to install the light meter inside the housing. The housing is held together with 4 thumb bolts. And what you want to do is unscrew those to open up the housing. As you unscrew them, you can hear a click letting you know that the thread has been disengaged. Once all 4 bolts have been unscrewed, you can open up the front of the housing and set the front cover aside. You want to set the front cover on its front like this on a soft surface. You never want to set it on a hard surface with the O-ring seal side facing down, because that might scratch the surface where the O-ring sits. This housing is equipped with our vacuum valve and the leak detection sensor. This leak detection sensor works with an iOS app, and it can work by itself. In this video, we're going to demonstrate how to use the app. To mount the light meter into this housing, we first have to take out the fixture bolt, and that's done by unscrewing this thumb nut. And we'll take out the fixture plate. This fixture plate has a 1/4-20 bolt that threads onto the back of the light meter. Using the largest flathead screwdriver, you screw the fixture plate onto the light meter. You also want to make sure that the fixture plate is square with the light meter. If it's crooked or it's not straight, the light meter will not sit in the housing properly. Once the fixture plate is attached, you want to turn on the unit and do your 0-point calibration. And then once that's done, you can remove the cap and tuck the cap behind the device. At this point, you want to set the light meter aside, and we're going to turn on the leak detection device. But first, we're going to go into our app and open that up. Okay, so here's the leak detect app. We're in there, and we're gonna turn on the unit using this push button on the device. Once it finds the device, we can connect to it. And at this point, we can see the pressure and the temperature inside the housing. We have various parameters that we can change. However, we recommend not changing these parameters for this particular housing. Right now it's set at 700 millibars for the vacuum. So once that's done, we can put the app aside and put the actual light meter inside the housing. I should point out is if you're not using the app with the leak detection circuit, you have about 90 seconds to install everything and close the housing. Otherwise, the leak detection sensor will go back to sleep. Before you close the housing, you want to inspect the O-ring. You want to make sure that you run your finger over the O-ring so that there's no dust or debris. Check the cover to see if there's any scratches or any dirt on it. Run your finger over it and then close the housing. These thumb screws, in order to engage them with the thread, you have to push them in and then rotate. You can start one and then start the other. You don't necessarily need to tighten them until they're all engaged. Once they're all engaged and they're nice and tight, you want to open up the vacuum valve cover and use the hand pump to pump the air out of the housing. As you pump the air, you can notice that the pressure inside the housing is going down. You want to achieve around 700 millibars or below 700 millibars. Okay, we're at 665 millibars, so that should be good. Now we're going to put the cap on the valve. And at this point, we can let the housing stay and just evaluate if there's any leaks. After you pump the air out, the air will fluctuate a little bit and this number will go up a tiny amount, but over time it should stay steady. If the temperature changes or you tighten up the bolts a little bit more, this number will change because this is a very sensitive sensor that's measuring the pressure inside. Right now this is steady at 666 millibars and it's not moving, so the housing is not leaking. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten up the thumb screws a little bit more. At this point the atmosphere is actually pressing down on the front cover of this housing, so that allows us to tighten the thumb screws a bit more. And now we're done. We can go diving and use the device underwater. Before you go diving or take this on a boat or on a trip, you want to disconnect the app from the leak detection device, and that's done through this button inside the app. Once you disconnect this, the device will actually go into what's called the sleep mode, and it's not using as much power when it's communicating with the app. Make sure that you close the app fully once you're finished with the app. So now we're going to demonstrate how to open up the housing. You don't want to release the pressure inside the housing while these thumb nuts are tightened, because that would release the atmospheric pressure that is acting on this front of the housing, and it makes it very difficult to open up these thumb screws with your finger. So while the housing is under vacuum, you want to loosen these thumb screws like this. And as a matter of fact, you can even loosen them to a point where they're completely disengaged from the thread. And now the nuts are all they're undone, and the front cover will not come off because the atmospheric pressure is acting on it. So we need to release the vacuum, and to do so, all we do is reach into the vacuum valve and pull on this red plug. You just all you do is put your finger there and push it to the side, and you can hear the air going in, and this is the alarm from the leak detection sensor saying that there was a loss of vacuum, and the front cover will actually pop open. Now this alarm will continue on for around 60 seconds, and then the device will go into the sleep mode.